ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णा प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णा चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनस्य भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहैतुके। Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 14, verse number 24. Sri Krishna is continuing to explain about bhakti, because the question asked by Uddhava was that there are various paths to attain ultimate good. So are they optional or someone is superior? So Krishna spoke about, or is speaking about bhakti, and this is what he propagated, this is what the Vedas speak about. Another path, Satya, Daya, Tapa, etc. They cannot purify one completely. So then he gave in the previous sloka how when bhakti manifests, there are some symptoms on the physical body which were described. Swashrukalaya sushed bhaktiya vinashe. Now he is continuing to speak more on that. Mohini.
I have a question on the verse number 16. There you cited Jiva Goswami, and you said that Jiva Goswami is explaining that Krishna cannot repay the devotees or the gopis, and therefore he follows behind them to try to repay his debts. And then you also explained that if someone wants to taste the madhurya, then he has to become a devotee. Only through bhakti the madhurya can be tasted, and this principle has to be also followed by Krishna himself, and he becomes a devotee to become absorbed in his own madhurya. So my question was like, are these 2 points connected to each other? Like, I was thinking of the avatar of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that because he could not repay the debts to the gopis or Brajavasis, he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or are these 2 separate statements and they are not interrelated?
Well, one is about tasting the sweetness, and he says without becoming devotee, even I cannot taste. Another is paying or purifying oneself because of not being able to pay. So these are 2 separate things. But for both, he says he becomes devotee. So now he says, Vāgad gada dravate yasya chittam rudati abhikshnam hasati kochicha vilajya udgayati nityate cha madbhakti yukto bhavnam punati. He says that one who is endowed with my devotion, he purifies the whole universe. His speech falters, his heart melts, he cries, and sometimes he laughs. He sings loudly without any inhibition and dances. So these are some of the symptoms of a person who has attained perfection in bhakti. In the previous one he said that bhakti purifies one's heart, right? It says bhaktiya vinashe suddhet, that without bhakti ashay does not become purified. And now he says that not only that bhakti purifies the heart ashaya, but he purifies the whole universe. So Sri Vishnath Chakravarti comments, Antakarnam tu samyaktaya bhaktireva sodhayati. And this we learned. Prem bhakti yukto janastu swam uddharti iti kinchitram bhurlokam api uddharati iti ahavagati. So he says that one who becomes endowed with prema or prema bhakti uplifts oneself or becomes free from the conditioning. This is not very surprising. Kim Chitram, there is nothing extraordinary about it. What is extraordinary is that he purifies the whole earth. So that is the most amazing thing about bhakti. Yasya vak gadgadakara spashtakshra ityartha. So yasya vak gadgada means gadgadayate, means falters, cannot speak clearly. When emotions manifest. Dravate means that heart melts. Yat chitta drava chittam abhikshnam rodati. So heart melts. So this is actually the primary symptom that there is a melting of heart. Heart becomes soft out of love. And abhikshnam rudati, roditi, he continuously cries. Abhikshnam atkanthena jajvalyamanatvat iti bhava. So why? Because he has the utkantha, he has this eagerness to be with Bhagavan, and because of that he is burning inside jajvalyaman. Kvachitcha sarvatra anveti chitradravastu sarvadikaya. So he says the word kvachit is applicable to all of them. Sometimes the speech falters, sometimes he laughs, sometimes he cries, sometimes he sings, sometimes he dances. But chitradravastu sarvadikaya. But melting of the heart is present all the time, because that is the primary symptom. So, mashnit chittas, mashnit swanta, mamatva shankita. So, because of mamatva, because of prema, the heart melts. This is the symptom of prema. Purushottam Prabhu.
I didn't get the meaning of this Jajvalyamana. What does it really mean? Jajvalyamana.
Feeling separation, burning out of that.
The separation, the heat from the separation basically.
Yeah.
Vira Agni.
Yes.
Okay.
Sandeep.
Pranam Bhavani Maharaj. So my question on this shloka is that like this state seems to be for a person like in the bhav, at least bhav stage. But sometimes like person is in the ashram, sometimes we hear complaint that he starts singing very loudly at times and people are sleeping, and so then he should check his emotions.
Yeah, if you are disturbing others, better don't do that.
Because you heard like that.
Yathagnina hema malam jahati dhmatam punah swam bhajte cha rupam atma cha karmanushayam vidhuya mad bhakti yogena bhajti athomam. So he is explaining the process, that how bhakti purifies. So first he explained that it purifies and what happens when heart gets purified. Now he is explaining the process of purification. So he gives one example. Say yatha agnina hema malam jahati dhmatam. So just like gold becomes purified when it is melted in fire, you heat it up, the impurities come out, and the gold comes from the mine, the ore form. So it has impurities in it. So the impurities are removed through fire. So this is how the purification happens. So a lot of heat is generated, then impurities come out. So you have to be tolerant, then only you will shine. It's not easy process. So he says yatha agnina hema malam jahati, and not little bit of agni, very intense heat that gold has to melt. Then only the impurities come. If there are little bit heat, that you will tolerate and hold on to the impurities, because impurities also become likable. So people stick to the impurities also, then they rationalize them. So he says just like the gold bhajte swam rupam punah, that it comes to its original form, because the impurity covers it. So that impurity is removed. So atma cha karmanushayam vidhuya mad bhakti yogena bhajati athoma. So he says in the same way the jiva, the self, it becomes free of its karma, karmashaya. And by what? Mad bhakti yogena, by the process of bhakti yoga. So this is the amazing characteristic of bhakti. Because earlier he said that this bhakti yoga, bhaktiya vinashya shuddha, that without bhaktiya the ashya cannot be purified. There are other processes which he said that they also bring some purification, but not completely. He says na samyak prapunati, they don't purify. Why is that? Because all other processes you will keep your own existence independent of Bhagavan. And that is the root cause of all problems. So if you are truthful, then I am truthful. If you are austere, I am doing such austerity. Kosti sadrishamaya. Who else is there like me? So in bhakti, you have to give up that tranadapi sumechena. That's why it is difficult. The difficulty in bhakti lies here only. Otherwise it is not difficult. So it's very difficult to give up the impurities. We are so much accustomed to them. It's like somebody is addicted to smoking. So it becomes very difficult for that person to give up smoking. Although smoking is impurity, it is troublesome for the body. It brings smoke inside, spoils the lungs, causes other problems. But still, person does not give it up because of the addiction. So like that we also become addicted to impurities of the heart. All this kama, krodha, lobha, moha. And bhakti cannot stand them. So if you want to engage in bhakti, then they have to leave you. So then you have to decide. So there is struggle. So that is the anartha nivritti stage. And everybody has to pass through that. Then only you become nishtha, stable. Then things move in a very stable manner. Before that, ghana tarala, up down like that. Blow hot, blow cold. So all that happens, confusion. Sometimes you like, sometimes you're depressed. I'm not in a good mood. So once you cross that, then there's no such thing as good mood, bad mood. You're always in the good mood. So that's when you have become pure of the impurities. So therefore he says, karmanushayam vidhuya mad bhakti yogena bhajti athomam. And after that only you attain Krishna. Bhajti means you reach him, you worship him and you attain him. Before that it is not possible. Kincha mad bhaktya eva atmasuddhi nanyata eva iti sadrishtantama. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says that moreover you have to understand that the purification of the heart happens only by bhakti, not by anything else. So because everything else, it will always give you some ahankar, even if it is sattvic ahankar, there will be. It's only bhakti which removes that pride, because then you understand that you are just servant and everything is by the grace of Bhagavan. Tatte anukampam susumikshamani. You see grace in everything, not your pride. Otherwise, even if you are humble, still the pride is there, that I am something, I am doing it. It cannot go away. It's not possible. So that's why it says bhaktiya eva atma shuddhi. So eva means only by bhakti, not by anything else. And this is being described by an example. Yatha agnina dhmatam dhmapitam eva hema suvarnam antarmalam jahati nakshalanadevi. So he said, just like the impurity of the gold goes out only when you heat it and you blow. Dhma means also blowing. So the impurity comes on top, remove it. So he says, just as there is no other way to remove the impurity of the gold. He says, nakshalanadinam, not by washing it in water or some liquid soap. So that will not take out the impurity, because impurity is mixed. It's not only just outside. Just like impurity is gone inside us. It's not just our skin is dirty so we can take bath and clean. It has gone inside the heart. So in the gold also there is a mixture inside. So it has to be removed. So that's what it says, Swam nijrupam cha bhaste. So then it attains its own swarupa, the golden swarupa. So some people were also using this, I don't know now, but when I was there, so that look, this shows that everything is there in the swarupa. So remove the impurity in the swarupa. No, it's not in the swarupa, the gold. The impurity is not in the swarupa of the gold. That you're taking out, it's outside. And the gold is gold, but something outside you remove, that, not that gold becomes something else. So you still become Atma only by bhakti, nothing more. So karmanusayam karma vasnatmakam malam vidhuya atho madhya loke mam bhajati sakshadeva sevate. So he says this vasana, the impurity in the form of the vasanas, the samskaras which lead to desires, all these proclivities we have for doing different materialistic things. So these are given up with bhakti, because what you want to attain ultimately here in the material world is happiness. And that happiness comes from bhakti. All this other happiness is an illusion. Because if the happiness is in the material object, then you should always have it. It's just like sugar has sweetness in it. So it is always there, whether it is dark or light, heat or cold, right? Sugar is sweet. But happiness from the material objects is not like that. You see somebody, you feel happy. So is it coming from the object? Just by seeing. You see the same person, when he or he has made some comments, then you don't feel happy. So the feeling is inside, object is outside. And it's not always. So therefore, it's not coming from them, but we get an illusion of it. When we are in deep sleep, we feel happy. There is no sense object there. Still we say, I felt so happy, slept nicely. So if the happiness is only objects, then we should get it from the object, not without any object. Right? So no object also gives happiness, and object also sometimes don't give, sometimes give, sometimes neutral. So therefore he says that it is from bhakti that these karma vasanas will go away. That's why the impurity goes away. Malam vidhuyato madhya loke mam bhajati sakshad. So he says then he comes to my loka and then he directly serves me. Bhajna also means seva. So first you do here sadhana bhakti, then prema bhakti, then you attain him and do direct seva to him. Anupam.
Babaji, in the commentary of this verse, is he talking about Utkranti Siddhi? Because in the last two words he says, Malam Vidhuya Ato Madhya Loke Mam Vajati Sakshadeva Sevate. So is he talking about Utkranti Siddhi? I mean, when person leaves the body and what
Yes.
Jiva Goswami described, right?
Yes, yes. Otherwise, how you go to the loka? You're not going to take this body there.
Thank you, Babu.
यथा यथा आत्मा परिमृज्यते सौ मत्पुण्य गाथा श्रवणा विधानै तथा तथा पश्यति वस्तु सूक्ष्मं चक्षुर्यथैवंजन संप्रयुक्तम. So is it that your condition being you are impure and then you are pure, is there anything in between stage? So he says no, it is process gradually. As you are getting purified, you also have experience of that. And he gives an example also for that. So he says, Yatha yatha atma parimrijyate aso. He says, as the atma or the self. Self here does not mean atma of the pure atma, but the condition means the heart, mind. As it gets purified, parimrijyate, mat punya gatha shravana vidhani. By hearing my pious deeds, punya gatha shravan, by chanting abhidhan, reciting. So then what happens? Tatha tatha pashyati vastu sukshma. So then you start having an experience of the subtle reality. And he gives you an example, chakshur yatha anjan samprayuktam. So nowadays we have glasses, we have weak eyesight, you put on glasses. Previously they were not. So you have to apply anjan, Ayurvedic ointment, which improves eyesight. But that also not that you apply it once and then it improves. You have to apply regularly. And as you apply it, gradually your eyesight is improving. And as your eyesight is improving, you can start things which are small. Start reading. First you may read the big letters, then the smaller ones. So sukshma vastu. So as your vision improves, you start seeing things which are smaller in size. So in the same way, as the heart becomes purified, then you start having better understanding about the reality, about things, how they are working, about our mind, emotions, about our own self, about Bhagavan. So all this understanding comes. आदि भजनम आरभ्य केवलया भक्त्या एव आत्मशोधन तारतम्येन श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरणादि तारतम्यात् मन माधुर्य अनुभव तारतम्यम प्राप्नोति इति यथा यथा इति. So he says that adi bhajanam arabhya, beginning from the beginning. You have to begin from the beginning, not jump up directly. Lila Smaran. So he says Adi Bhajan. So Adi Bhajan means Guru Padashray Tasmat Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam Visrambhena Guru Seva Sadhu Vartmanu Vartanam. So this is the Adi Bhajan. So you start from that. And then he says Kevalaya Bhaktya Eva Atmasodhanam. And you have to do Kevala Bhakti. Not Mishra Bhakti, not Guni Bhuta Bhakti, not Bhakti mixed with Karma, Bhakti mixed with Gyan, Bhakti mixed with Yoga, all these things. Kevala Bhakti. That purifies the heart. Chitta Suddhi, Cheto Darpan Marjanam. So tartamya, and then there is a tartamya, there is a gradation of purification. So that gradation of purification depends on the Shravana Kirtan Smarana Tartamyat. So on the gradation of how you engage in hearing, doing Kirtan, Smaran. So Man Madhurya Anubhav Tartamya. So you have the experience of the sweetness of Bhagavan correspondingly. Yatha yatha iti. So yatha yatha parimrijyate aso mat punya gatha shravanabhidhani. So yatha yatha means as. So that describes the gradual improvement. Tattva sukshmam. So there is a different reading according to the commentator. The present book has Vastu Sukshmam, that you see the subtle reality, and he has Tattvam Sukshmam. So he is commenting on that. So Tattvam Madrup Liladi Swarupam. So Tattva here means the nature of my form, my pastimes. Sukshmam tan madhurya anubhav vishesham. And sukshma or subtle means the specific experience of sweetness of these things. Tayor dvandvakyam. So this is dvandva samas. Yatha sukshmam tattvam puru nipata bhava arsha. So it should be sukshmam tattvam, but the reading is tattvam sukshmam. Chakshur yatha iti prathamam. So he is giving example that suppose he says prathamam andhat kano api uttamas tasmat chakshushman chakshushmato api siddhanjan rasanjita netra sukshmam pashyati. So he says better than blind person is one-eyed person. Better than one-eyed person is one who has two eyes. And better than one who has two eyes, one who has rasanjan. So in Tantra there are also some ointments which you apply to your eyes. Then you can start seeing things which you don't see otherwise. You can see ghosts, apsaras, gandharvas. So Tantra has many things like this. So he says this is what he's talking about, rasanjan. So you see Vastu Sukshmam, because they are subtle, they don't have gross body. So you can also see beings with subtle bodies. So like that, bhakti purifies the heart. And as the heart is getting purified, you have experience. So up till here he has explained about bhakti. Now he gives advice which is very practical. So first he gives a principle. So basically it is all dependent how you engage your mind. It's a mind game. So he says Vishyan dhayatas chittam visheshu visajjate mamanusmaratas chittam mayyeva praviliyate. So simple formula, but very effective formula. So he says Vishyan dhyayatas chittam visheshu visajjate. That if you meditate on Vishaya, the sense objects, then your mind becomes absorbed in sense objects. So it becomes Sangat Sanjayate Kama. You have Sangha, Asakti, thinking, meditation. Then it becomes absorbed that. Says you use the same mind to think of me, then it will become absorbed in me. So Mam Dhyayata Chittam Mayyeva Pravaliyate. Mam Anusmarta Chittam. So Anusmaran, not just Smaran, but Anusmaran, repeatedly. Then mind will become focused and fixed on Sri Krishna. So this is his instruction. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu Mam anusmara yudhyacha mayeva manadatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasasya mayeva taurdham samsaya manmana bhavad bhakta madhyaji mam namaskara. So basically we have to just utilize the mind. So we do sadhana bhakti. So there also we engage our body, senses, but mind is the main factor. Manaev manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. So vishyaavishtam bandhaya mukti nirvishayam smritam. So mind is the cause of bondage, mind is the cause of freedom. If you fix the mind on Vishaya, then you are bound, and if you make the mind nirvishaya, free from that, then you are free. So bondage is of the Vishaya. Vishunvanti. Vishaya means because they rope you in. Sewing, you know, sewing. How you sew? With the needle and thread. Same dhatu, Vishaya. Or seeing shayane, where you sleep. So that is the formula is giving here in this verse. So etadrish shravan kirtana smaranadi nishthanam tvad bhaktanam chittam tvai kidrisham syat ityah vishyaniti. So Uddhava is asking that how is the heart of your devotees who are fixed in hearing, singing and remembering your name, pastime, etc. He says Vishyaniti. Vishaya dhyanasaktam chittam yatha vishaya madhurya nimagnam drishtam tathaiva madhya dhyanasaktam. So he said just like a person who meditates on some sense object. Obviously he meditates on something which he likes or she likes and tastes the sweetness. So the sweetness again is not coming from that object. It is because of the meditation. Because when you are meditating on that object, your mind is focused. And focused mind is happiness. And unfocused mind is trouble. Like you say, oh, my mind is disturbed. Your mind is not peaceful, that's suffering. So when you meditate on something which you like, you derive some pleasure from that. Although the object may not be there, but just by thinking, so that pleasure is not coming from somewhere outside, just because mind becomes stable. But this is what people don't realize. And therefore they undergo a lot of trouble running after the object. So he said, just as the person, he becomes absorbed in the sweetness of that object when he becomes attached, dhyanasakt, and is very much attached to that object. So he says, same thing happens when they become attached to me. Tathaiva madhya dhyanasaktam yatha vishaya madhurya matra nimagnam syat. So the same mind, when it is fixed on Krishna, then you taste sweetness of Krishna. Tasmad asadabhidhyanam yatha swapna manoratham hitva mai samadhatsva mano madbhava bhavitam. So then naturally, if we understand the previous verse, there is no need for him to tell that you should meditate on me. Naturally comes from that, right? But still he is saying it in case you don't get it. So he says, therefore, you should give up all these Swapna Manoratha. That don't ride the chariot of the mind and dream. People are always dreaming that I will get this, then I will do this, then I will be like this. So he says, Swapna Manoratham Hitva, just drop that. And Asad Avidhyanam, this meditation on these objects which are asat, which are material, temporary, and you will never get them. And even if you get them, you really don't get them. And even when you think you have got them, still you will lose them. Nothing is going to stay with you permanently. So that's why they are asat. They are not sat. Sat means past, present, future. They are there. So he says this is asat avidhyan, this meditating on these asat objects. And this is swapna manorath. This is just a dream. So just like the objects in the dream, you never really get them. It is a kalpana. It's an imagination. You have heard of Kalpataru? People think that Kalpataru is in heaven. No, Kalpataru is here in your head. At night you sleep, close your eyes and you are on the Kalpataru. You are sitting under the Kalpataru. You are sitting under your head and you are imagining and you are getting it. There is no obstruction. What you cannot get in the daytime, at night you dream and you get it. That is the Kalpataru. There is no other Kalpataru. Like the rest of the Kalpataru is also imagination, Kalpana. So this mind is the Kalpataru, but use this Kalpataru to get Krishna and not the Asadabhidhyanam. Therefore it says, Tasmad Asadabhidhyanam yatha swapna manoratham hitva mai samadhatsva. So he says, therefore become situated in me, put your mind on me, mad bhava bhavitam. And meditation can also be out of anger, out of some negative feelings. It says mad bhava bhavitam, with devotion to me. So meditation with love, affection, that will solve the problem. Tasmat anyat sadhanam tat phalam cha swapna manorathvat asata vidhyan matram. So he says, therefore all other processes besides bhakti, it's very important statement. Those processes other than bhakti and their fruits, they're all swapna manoratha. There is nothing in them. All this kundalini rising up, down, going chakra, this is all kalpana. Swapna manorath. Asadabhidhyanam matram. Tasmat tadvihaya. Therefore give up all that. Kevalaya eva bhaktya mai eva manasamahitam kuru. So just fix your mind only on me with devotion alone and nothing else. This is the straightforward process. This is what Bhāgavatam recommends. This is Vyasa recommends, his last work. This Sukadeva Goswami is recommending, Krishna is recommending. Simple. So there is no need to run after this yoga, that yoga. This is the supreme yoga. And there is nothing higher than this. And we can see in the material world also, you may do yoga, but ultimately after doing yoga you want some loving relationship. Right? You can make money, karma yoga, become successful anywhere, but then you want loving relationship. You want some bhakti. So therefore it says that kevalaya bhaktya mayeva mana samahitam kuru iti prakaranaartham upsangharati. So in this verse Krishna is concluding his instructions on bhakti, which he began as a reply to Uddhava's question. Tasmaditi Sri Swami Charana. Swami Sridhar Swami also says Tasmat. Mad bhavena mad bhavnaya eva bhavitam bhavi yukti kartam. So mad bhavena bhavita means that your mind should be like, what you call, pervaded with my devotion. And with that, you fix it on me. Bhav bhavita. So with every do, there is a do not also. So this next two slokas talk about a heavy do not. Heavy do not is coming. Purushottam Prabhu, let's hear you before we go to the do not.
It's amazing that even after coming to this conclusion, Uddhava is asking the question about Dhyana Yoga and Sri Krishna explains the Dhyana Yoga. That's what surprises me.
He said, let everybody know what our other process is. We should, what we have to give up, that also we have to know. It's important. Not only what we do, we have to know, we have to also know what we should not do. So therefore both are there.
So that is the purpose here, is explaining this Dhyana Yoga.
Yes. Otherwise somebody will come and tell you Dhyana Yoga, you will think, oh, this is also bhakti.
But he already explained about Dhyana Yoga, another process doesn't bring the complete purification of the heart. So why still coming to the Dhyana Yoga?
Some people want to experiment, then they will come. Yes.
How can a person tell, is there a way to tell for sure if you're in anartha nivritti? Like versus some other, you're just triggered, or maybe that's how your personality is, or how can you tell for sure?
You better know about yourself, don't worry about others.
Okay, how can I know for sure if I'm in anartha nivritti?
When your anartha nivritti is gone, means now you don't waste your time.
No, not when it's over, when you're in it.
When you are in it?
Yeah, when you're in the midst of that thing.
Then your mind wanders here, there, with laya, vikshepa. You are very much concerned about the body, bodily comforts over devotional service. Interests are basically material.
But what if that's just how the person is, or how I am?
Then you have to change.
So then how would anartha nivritti look if I was already like that, though? Then how would the anartha nivritti look? More
Just
like that? Or?
Just like if you become completely fixed in love with somebody, like material love, how does it feel? You are so much bothered about yourself, or you are absorbed in that person? Similarly.
And what's the quickest and fastest, best way to get out of it? If you're like, oh, I'm in it. What's the best way to get out of it? How, and the quickest?
Bhakti.
No, but that's a
bhakti.
broad word.
Well, you have to first figure out what is the thing which pulls your mind away, and then work on it. It's not easy, because we are used to it and our mind likes those things, and mind then will use intelligence to rationalize it. And this is also bhakti. Mind has many tricks. Sandeep.
Already this freedom from getting out of rag and dvesh, is it at nivritti or at next nishtha asakti also?
ये तो पहले ही हो जाता है, निष्ठा पिष्ठा पे नहीं पहुंचेगा तो दिस इज ऑल अनर्थ.
Rag dvesh is anartha nivritti only.
Yes.
उसके बाद you will see everyone as Krishna's manifestation. Everyone, everything.
Yes. स्त्रीणां स्त्रीसंगिनां संगम त्यक्त्वा दुरुतयात्मवान् क्षेमे विविक्तासीन चिन्तयेन् मामतन्द्रितः. So he says that you should give up, if you are Atmavan, if you want to protect your Atma, yourself, he says give up the association of women and those who associate with women. Give it up from far, durta eva. So for men it is woman, for women it is men. So don't think that it's only women who have to be given up. For women they have to give up the association of men. And ksheme vivikta asina chintiyet mamatandrita. And sit in a peaceful, solitary place and meditate on me without lethargy. So this is what we call as nirjan bhajan, solitary meditation. Krishna said this earlier in Bhagavad Gita also, right? It says, yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthita. Go to a solitary place. So it is important, especially in the beginning, we have to do something to get out of, because when our senses, our mind, where they are very much already used to sense objects, and then those sense objects you see all the time around you, so it becomes very difficult to become free from that entanglement. So that's why he says that you do this difficult thing. So Visheshto Vatsayanadi Yukta Kam Margas Tyajya Ityaha Strinamati. So he says that specifically you have to give up the Kama Marga. Because mind, this is where Kama takes birth. Kama is called Manoj, mind born. So this is where it is. Kama comes there. So he says, therefore, you have to especially give up the Vatsayan literature. Vatsayan wrote Kama Sutra. So he says that has to be given up. Strinamiti yate atmavan dhriti yukta. So atmavan, he says, atma here also means dhriti, means who has fortitude, who has fixity, should give up that. He has to use that. Tesam sange sati dhritir na tishthaiti iti bhava. Why? Because if you associate with women or men, depending on your gender, so then what happens? You will lose your dhriti, your fortitude, your forbearance. And then your mind will become unstable. Then it will run after the object. Then you cannot meditate, remember. So, ksheme nirbhaya deshe. So he says kshema means nirbhaya desh, the place which is free from any fear. And vivikta nirjane. Vivikta means in the solitary place. Then there is a very famous sloka, it came before also. I think in Kapila's instruction the sloka comes twice in Bhagavad Gita. There are some slokas which come twice in Bhagavatam. There is one sloka which comes, I think 5 times, if I am not wrong, but definitely 3 times. So na tatha asya bhavet klesho bandhasyanya prasangataha yosit sangat yatha punso yatha tat sangi sangataha. So he says that for a pumsa, for a man, there is no klesha. Klesha means trouble or bondage which happens by any other association, as it happens with the association of a woman or with the association of a person who associates with women. There is nothing else which entangles, which binds, which brings troubles for a person, human, here man, as comes by the association of women And for women, for men, vice versa, both ways works. Men are not some saintly people, so women should not think that we are safe, we can associate. So it works both ways. So yatha tat sangata. So there are two things here. One, he is saying that yoshit sangat yatha, as by the association of yoshit, woman, and yatha tat sangi sangata, and by the association of one who associates. So he does not comment on the first one because that is known to people. But the question may come, why he is saying to associate with the person who associates with woman? What is the problem with that? Is it some kind of contagious disease that he is bringing the virus and then you will also get it? What is the problem? So he has a very nice explanation for this. He says, Yoshit sangi sangatyage bhuyan eva yatnaha kartavyo. So he says that you must do very big effort, care, to give up association of a person who associates with women. Because if a man associates with a woman, it is very possible that he will develop vairagya. I am sure many have experience of this. But if you associate with a man who is associating with a woman, there is no such possibility. That because he is going to talk about the woman, that how it is and this and that, and then you are going to have that swapna manorath, that dream. Wow, it is so nice. Because mind has this tendency to exaggerate. When you hear some explanation, some description of something nice, like people go on holiday, picnic somewhere, and then when they come and talk, and you see the photograph where everybody is smiling. So you actually make such a big deal out of it in your mind. When you go there, there's nothing like that. It's just ordinary things, But since you have come now, you will also do the same thing. You will also take photographs to show. Although there you may be fighting with your wife, So this is what happens, that if you associate with a man who is talking about women, and men like to talk like that. If man is enjoying with woman, then he will all the time talk about it. Because this is what he is focused on. He will say, oh, it was this, I did that, And vice versa. Women will also talk like that. So that is very alluring. That's how people get really hooked. Wow, this is so wonderful. And he is not going to talk about the problems. So therefore he says that this, you have to make a special effort to avoid this. So yato yoshit sange lajja sviya pratishtha cha badhika asti. Then he gives another reason. He says, if you, especially in the olden time, now this is also not there. He says, if you are a brahmachari and you associate with a woman, you will have fear, somebody is watching you. You will have some shame, what people will say, oh, he is a brahmachari, he is with a woman. So there will be lajja and fear of losing your own honor, that people will criticize me, I am a brahmachari, I am associating with a woman. But if when you are associating with a man who is associating with women, there is nothing like that. You talk openly, nobody is going to say anything. So this is another thing he says. So he says, tat sange, sangi sangestu prayaste api na badhike. He says, in associating with a man who is very much a womanizer, basically, he says there is no such restriction with them. You don't feel any inhibition. There is no thing that somebody is going to attack you for that. Paramcha yosit sangi yatha tat katha bhis tasyam asanjayati lajja bhyadikam api tyajati na tatha yosidapi tyutratra tan nirdesha. And then he says that the Yoshit Sangi, the person who is attached to women, so he is going to talk about their stories, and he is going to make you very much attracted to women and make you free from any shame talking about women, and he will say, what is the problem? This is natural. All that, whatever logic. Just like those people who drink, and if you don't drink, how they will sing so many songs about drinking, and may convince you that you should also, what kind of man you are, you don't drink, you are a child. When will you grow up? Because drinking is also a sign of growing up. It has nothing to do with growing up, but that's that's how they talk, It also feels your pride, your ego is hurt, then you want to do it. So they also talk like that. So he says that they will make you give up your fear about women, your inhibition about women, and make your mind attached to them. He says this will not happen if you actually associate with women directly. So he says that's why it is stated second in the list. First he says Yoshit Sangat, and then he says Satsangi Sangata, because it is more dangerous. So I'll stop here. Bhushan.
You perhaps have a question. So here the association, is it strictly speaking of like physical association?
Yeah.
Or is it like a mental, not emotional connect with like one's partner, or it's not talking about that?
He's not talking about partner or anything. The partner concept was not there when he wrote. This is later development. Okay, Mohini.
Just something to understand properly, you say that this karma is born in the manas, it is manasija. Is it coming from the chitta and then it takes birth in the manas?
Yes. ये कौन है अक्षय?
Babaji Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So you said that there is no Kalpataru. So my question was, is it like not even the spiritual world? Like is it desired?
No, spiritual world, everything is there, but here in the Swarga nobody has seen. We see every night Kalpataru, that is what I am saying.
Okay.
Maybe other places. But this one is our direct experience. Okay.